Morning. So I will discuss, as Tim said, about WSUD asset management. And the idea is not that you will become specialist in WSUD asset management. It's to give you all the philosophy about asset management and then to focus on the main problem we will have on asset management related to this kind of infrastructure. So we will discuss first on why do we need asset management, then what is asset management, how can we do asset management, and then we will pinpoint some specific interesting points. Feel free to ask questions at any time. Tim already presented me, so I won't go in detail on this. So I'm working as associate professor in France, and I'm working on different topics. Most of them are related to asset management, either sewer asset management or WSUD asset management. And I'm working a lot also on low-cost monitoring. I will tell you a little about that. So the first part is, why do we need infrastructure asset management? Many reasons. The first one is that when we are dealing with WSUD, I think you are now familiar with the WSUD, many WSUD infrastructure are hidden. So if you look from the surface, you don't see much. But if you look from the ground, you will see that the whole part of the infrastructure is underground. So it's not so easy to know when this infrastructure is in good condition or bad condition. The second point is, as any asset, sometimes it doesn't work. And it may not work from the beginning. This is, for example, on the left, an infiltration trench that has been clogged maybe a few months after the construction. It has been clogged mainly because they didn't expect the weight of the car and many debris that went in the infiltration trench. That's why it clogged. And you have the classical inlet on the right, where you will have the leaf from the trees. And often when you look on flooding in urban areas, you will make lots of modeling and you will find that the system is not big enough, the pipe is not big enough. But the main problem is that the water doesn't go in the pipe, doesn't go in the system because of the leaves. So you need to know when the system doesn't work, and you need to know why the system doesn't work. The third point is that sometimes you will design a very good system which is expected to work very well, but it will be misused. On the bottom right, you have a picture of a flow arriving in a detention basin. As you can see, the water is blue, but it's not a natural blue. This comes from industrial process. This water has been, it was supposed to have only storm water, but when they are cleaning all the equipment outside, they will clean it, and then the water will go in the pipes and go to the detention basin. And you have something that you're not supposed to have, so it's misuse. On the left, you have the inlet of a dry basin, dry retention basin, and this dry detention basin will be dry most of the time and is supposed to collect the water when there are heavy rain. But the inhabitants of around this area were thinking that it was not very nice to have an empty pond all of the time. So they decided to remove the valve. So you have the picture of the inlet of the basin, and the inhabitant just removed the valve. So now the water, any water, will go straight and will fill the pond. So it's not supposed to be like that. Again, it's misuse. So you also have to know when the system will be misused, and you have to know why, and then you can maybe find a solution. The next why is about deterioration. You take any system, any asset, it will deteriorate with time. It will deteriorate maybe fast, maybe slowly. So again, you have to predict when the system won't work anymore. These are examples of clogging of an infiltration basin, then clogging of a porous road, and you have animal burrows in the system. Another point of infrastructure asset management is that we want to do better. We are always trying to do better when we are managing an infrastructure, and doing better means trying to reduce the energy consumption, means trying to reduce the water footprint or the carbon footprint. So you are always thinking of how you can improve the system. Even if it's working fine, you will check it and see how better you can make it. So that's another aim of infrastructure asset management. And then you have this very complex thing that when you're dealing with water infrastructure, such as WSUD, they are designed to manage stormwater, but they have also other purpose. When you have a porous road, the porous road is supposed to manage the stormwater, but it's also a road. When you have a porous parking, it's also a parking. When you have a garden with a swale, the swale will be made to manage stormwater, but the swale is also here to enhance the surrounding. And it's also here maybe to preserve the biodiversity. So you're not dealing with only one purpose for the infrastructure. You're dealing with multiple purposes for this infrastructure. And this expectation will be very different from one infrastructure to another one, depending on the type of infrastructure, depending on the location. So it starts to be complicated to know what you expect from the system and to check if what you expect is provided. So that's another point of trying to work globally on asset management. The last point, maybe not so important for you, but it's very important for utilities. When you start to have a method and you can explain why you are doing this action on your infrastructure, why you go to inspect, why you go to maintain, why you have to rehabilitate, and how much of the assets you need to inspect, how much assets you need to maintain, to rehabilitate, you will be able to justify the money that you need to maintain this infrastructure. And this is very important for utilities today, because the money is shrinking, so it's very important to be able to justify that the money is used as best as possible. And its utility are public bodies, so they need to also justify in front of the population that the money is used as best as possible. So this is very important. If you start to work on infrastructure asset management, you need to take into account that you need to explain and justify every cost that you will have to spend. And you are maybe familiar, we are always have a big separation between the CapEx and the OpEx. The CapEx is all about capital expenditure. It's mainly related to the most big works. It's planning, design, construction, and replacement of the system. And the OpEx is smaller cost, like inspection, maintenance, reparation, and renovation. So any utility will have a separate budget for CapEx, what should be construct, rehabilitate, and for OpEx, what should be inspected, what should be maintained, and so on. So you have to justify the money, but you have to justify also for each separate budget, which is sometimes very complicated to deal with.